What's good, YouTube? It is your boy, Big Cool, coming to you from Colossal Sports TV. And I am back with another video. Y'all already know what time it is. This is the rundown discussing boxing's latest news. First up, what we reported on Sunday was finally officially confirmed today at a press conference in London, and that is two-division world champion, current 168-pound WBO champion, Billy Joe Saunders has put pen to pad, inking a multi-fight deal with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing. This is a huge move for both parties because, quite simple, as good and great, however you want to categorize Frank Warren as a promoter, the fights for Billy Joe Saunders wasn't getting made. And I'm not saying this from a lack of effort and a lack of legitimate offers from Frank Warren to these other promoters, but the facts remain. In his career so far, Billy Joe Saunders has fought Andy Lee, Chris Eubank Jr., David Lemieux, and Willie Monroe. You can also throw in Gary O'Sullivan if you care to. Those are five recognizable names. Two of those five guys are former world champions, David Lemieux and Andy Lee. But he hasn't fought the guys that he should be fighting. The Gennady Golovkins, the Demetrius Andrades, the Canelo Alvarez, the Daniel Jacobs, the Callum Smiths. Those guys, But with this move from Queensberry Promotions to Matchroom Boxing, the world of possibilities now lie at his feet. We know that he is currently campaigning at 168 pounds, but he's made it clear. He's made it clear that he can and will bounce back and forth between 160 and 168 if the big fights are there. There's no more excuses. There's no more excuses from him, from Golovkin, from Alvarez, Andrade, Jacobs, Callum Smith, whoever else rises, in that 160 to 168 weight class, Jaime Munguia. It's endless opportunities for Billy Joe Saunders to bag up all the shit talking that he does. And he's a very good fighter. He's not a big puncher, but he's a guy who has very good footwork, has good hand speed, very defensively sound. He is a guy that doesn't lack confidence whatsoever. And he's a tough out for any of these guys. If this guy's clicking on all cylinders, it's going to be a tough night at the office for all the guys I just mentioned and other guys that's outside of Matchroom Boxing and that's not a part of the zone. Jermell Charlo, Tony Harrison, Jerry Hurd, J-Rock, when eventually they come up from 154 to 160. Caleb Plant, David Benavidez, all those guys. He's tough outs for, those guys because he's an extremely talented and gifted fighter. But with this move, it has to sting Frank Warren a whole lot because him and Eddie Hearn are arch rivals from the UK. Both guys have had their ups, their downs. Both guys have worked with each other, but both guys know that this is a competitive business, and these fighters and these promoters, vice versa, are trying to get the maximum dollar, the maximum exposure, the maximum opportunity from their promoter or their fighter. That's why they show interest in one another. And credit to Frank Warren. He helped guide Billy Joe Saunders to 2 world titles, 2 different weight classes. But obviously, he guided him as far as he could. And now, Eddie Hearn has been passed the baton, obviously, not willingly, from Frank Warren, but by way of Billy Joe Saunders, who Frank Warren mutually and amicably, agreed to part ways. So now, there's no excuses to why we shouldn't see Billy Joe Saunders in a big fight. It's time for him to get in the mix and to really prove that he is one of the upper echelon fighters, not only at 160 but also 168. Like I said, the opportunities are endless. It's all about negotiating the deal, signing the deal, and fighting. And I can't wait to see, how he fares against the likes of a Canelo Alvarez, a Demetrius Andrade, a guy he was supposed to fight, but he tested positive for a banned substance the week of or 10 days leading up to that fight, which, obviously counseled it. The likes of Daniel Jacobs, if he fights Callum Smith, which I expect him to do so in 2020, it's going to be interesting to see those style matchups, how those styles clash, how effective he can be, and will he rise to the top. But, this is what he had to say. I feel excited, mate. I'm looking forward to this new journey because of the opportunities that's on it. So I'm very excited to be working with Matchroom, DAZN, and Sky TV. We all parted company on good terms. Me and Frank still remain friends. We built a lot of trust and a good relationship over the decade, and it was a hard decision, but I need to put myself on track where these big fights are. So, and that's pretty much that's pretty much why this decision was made to part ways with Frank Warren. He also went on to say this. Listen, my number one guy was Canelo because he is the golden goose. Also because Floyd Mayweather was the only man to beat him. And to be the second to Floyd is definitely not a bad achievement. I don't need to go anywhere else. If the big fights can't be made here, they can't be made anywhere. Simple. We're all in the same pond, so they can only be made here. So, yeah, I'm very happy. And there it is. He's very happy. This was the most logical place to take his talents after, he parted ways with Frank Warren. And now it's up to these fighters, him and whoever else is approached, with the possibility of fighting Billy Joe Saunders. It's up to these fighters that want to step up and prove that they are the best in their division. And we shall see some big fights hit from here on out, from here on out. So I am excited. I think that this is going to be a big move for Billy Joe Saunders. I think it could be a huge risk and an even bigger reward if he can get some of these wins under his belt. So we shall see how it plays out over the course of his contract. Next up, Jose Ramirez, the new unified junior welterweight champion, says he wants all 4 belts. And that is music to my ears because that means he want to fight Josh Taylor. That means he want to fight Regis Prograis. That means he want to become undisputed junior welterweight champion before he leaves 140 and embarks on a new journey at 147. But to do that, of course, he has to get those guys in the ring. And this is what he had to say in a recent interview talking about the possibilities of unifying the whole division. He said this. I want all 4 belts. I was hoping that I would get to face the winner and get 2 belts in one fight. I believe I have a mandatory to go through before the year's end. I'll be back in the ring after the holidays and hopefully chase one of those 2 fighters. Yes, what he said was he was hoping to have a high-stake undisputed title fight between the winner, Josh Taylor versus Regis Prograis. But Regis Prograis has pulled out of the WBSS final due to the lack of money being paid that was promised to him and that was in the contract. But good things are that the line of communication between the representatives of the WBSS and Lou DiBella are open, and they're trying to come to a resolution to allow the fight to go on, to satisfy all parties included. So that is a situation that 3kingsboxing.com, are continuing to monitor as news comes in and as each passing day goes by. But Jose Ramirez just went to Dallas, Texas, the home of the former WBO junior welterweight champion Mighty Mo Maurice Hooker, and stopped him, I believe, in the 7th round of a fight that was an excellent back and forth action fight. Both guys, threw and landed tons of big hurtful punches. But at the end, it was Jose Ramirez who landed the hardest shots, went in for the kill, and walked out as the new unified WBC and WBO junior welterweight champion. It's a big feat for him. A lot of people look at him as the third wheel in this division. It was that way before he fought Maurice Hooker, who a lot of people viewed as the fourth guy. But a lot of people are tabbing Josh Taylor and Regis Prograis, however, whatever order you put them in, as the top two guys, the best guys at 140. But Jose Ramirez is the only guy that can say he's the unified champion. He's a unified champion. And at 27 years old, he has a long, long way to go in his career. And if he's able to unify this division to beat the guys that people don't think he can beat, that would be great for his career. That would be great for his standing. It would no doubt push him up the pound for pound list. It will open up more opportunities, potentially against Terrence Crawford or any other fighter that's not aligned with Top Rank, that, a big fight can be made. So I like that mindset. I hope that we see him fight Prograis, Taylor, however the fights happen. If it's a all undisputed fight, or he has to fight one after the other, and vice versa. I just feel like, these guys got to fight each other before they leave their current weight division and go up to another one, because these styles will mesh. You got Ramirez is a boxer puncher. He's definitely what's the word I'm looking for? He's a determined fighter. He has a lot of tenacity. He has a lot of heart. He fights for a bigger purpose. As I said in previous videos, other than just being a champion and fight for himself, he fights for his family. He fights for his people. He rep California hard. So he fights for more than just the normal, typical, me. And Prograis is a boxer puncher as well. Probably more puncher than boxer, but he has shown finesse in his last few fights. And Taylor is a switch hitting southpaw who can fight out of the orthodox stance, who can punch, who can box, and is a tremendous body puncher. So all these guys have a right to stake claim that they're the number one guy in the division. And Jose Ramirez has the most claim to stake, because he's the only unified champion out of the three guys I just mentioned. He's traveled on the road, and he's proven that his game travels. Whether you're in California, whether you're in Texas or New York, he is going to show up and give it his all, and he's going to be a live dog in a competitive fight. Doesn't matter who's he going up against. So I hope that we get to see him versus Prograis or versus Taylor, or however it shakes out, because that fight with his fighting style, and especially those two guys' fighting style, will equal a fight of the year candidate, which would only entertain us and bode well for the fans that look for those slugfest, knocking down type fights. You know what I'm saying? Next up, Carlos Takam versus Oleaksandr Usyk appears to be on the ropes after Carlos Takam signs with Star Boxing. Joe DeGardi, reports surfaced that October 12th was going to be the day. The fight was rescheduled after May 25th, was postponed due to Usyk tearing his bicep. But it appears that Carlos Takam has other plans. He has brought in a new promoter, and he's looking to go a different route. Obviously, that doesn't forbid him from still, making a deal with Oleaksandr Usyk, but it makes things a little more tougher, because that is the fight that's been talked about for months. While he was going to be a significant underdog heading into this fight, it still has some intrigue, because he's a very experienced guy, former world title challenger. He also has a lot of toughness, and he's a big power puncher. He's been stopped a couple times in his career, probably 3 times, I believe, by Anthony Joshua, Alexander Povetkin, and most recently Derek Chisora in an absolute war. But he is a guy that is physically strong, has some solid skills. Like I said, can knock you out. And it would have been a good litmus test for Usyk to see how he deals with a middle-of-the-road heavyweight contender and Carlos Takam, who doesn't do anything great, but just is a workmanlike fighter, very professional, and would love to get in the ring with him and pull off a major upset. For Usyk, this would be his heavyweight debut. But it looks like Eddie Hearn and himself will have to go back to the drawing board and see if they can find another guy that has a recognizable name, that has some good experience against some quality competition, that has some skills to give Usyk some trouble. Because, like I said, while Takam would probably more than likely get easily outboxed, he still has that style that can kind of rough up and bother Usyk. But if, you know what I'm saying, if he signs with somebody else and is no longer an option, that ain't nothing Usyk can do. All they can do is go back to the drawing board and find the next best opponent. But it'll be interesting to see. I don't know off the top of my head who could that be. Huey Fury and Povetkin are about to fight each other, so no, unless Eddie Hearn swoops in and offers one of those two guys a nice deal to say, you know what, I'll pull out this fight and go for a bigger fight. I'm trying to think. Could it be Charles Martin, who was in negotiations with Tyson Fury? It could be Trevor Bryant, who's undefeated. He's 20-0 with 14 knockouts. He's the WBA interim heavyweight champion. I'm trying to think of who else it could be. I really can't think of nobody else. I doubt it would be Joseph Parker. He's already turned that fight down. I think he wants to, go ahead with a fight with Derek Chisora. Maybe Brian Jennings. He's just coming off of a tough loss to Joe Joyce. So, I don't know, man. We'll have to figure out and see what's the next move. But whoever it is, if it's not going to be Takam, it's definitely going to have to be somebody respected, somebody that's known, and somebody that can give a good effort to Usyk, who is going to be the overwhelming favorite as he looks to stay claimed in his second division as the man, as he did as a cruiserweight. But if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you enjoy the content throughout the channel. Also, do me a favor by sharing these videos on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Drop your comments in the comment section down below, giving me your thoughts on all these topics. Shout out to the movement and everybody that is moving with us. Be sure to check out 3kingsboxing.com for your latest and greatest updated, unfiltered, and unbiased boxing news and information reported the way it should be. Until next time, I am out. Peace.